gonna try to do the voice. You know, what's the voice?
In a podcast.
No, the game show voice.
Just like
Hello, everybody, and welcome
painfully enthusiastic.
to the Exo Terra game show. No, okay, so hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 37 of Daffy's Roundtable, and today is the Exo Terra game show. So on this corner, the reptile manager of Critter Jungle, Leachianus enthusiast, James Ellis, also known as I Am Nomad. And in this corner, the person acting in charge of Exo Terra in Canada and Dart Frog enthusiast, Jesse the Luca.
Nailed it.
100%. But before we get into the game show, I want to thank Exo Terra for continuing to sponsor this podcast and making this episode possible. Exo Terra makes quality products for our pet reptiles to make them feel at home, right?
That's right.
That's right, right?
Yep.
That's right. Awesome. Okay. So before we get into the game show, James, you are the reptile manager at Critter Jungle.
Yep.
You're selling a lot of Exo Terra stuff all the time.
Yep.
You know, we carry a lot of Exo Terra stuff at Critter Jungle. What is the most popular like Exo Terra products that kind of you see selling every week?
I'm gonna answer your question with a question. Do you define popular as sheer volume, or do you define popular as what people are most often like looking for and asking me questions about?
What are people most often looking for and asking you questions about?
Tanks. Always tanks. The Exo Terra tanks are second to none. They're beautiful tanks.
Okay, awesome.
Just every system you guys have going in them, the lids, they're so clean and easy to swap out. Like
the locks too.
Like a lot of the competitor tanks you have, like they'll have some parts here and there which are nice, but there's always something where it falls apart at some point. Every single part of the whole tank you guys have, it's amazing. I love them. You guys do good work.
Yeah.
They hold up.
Does that kind of reflect on like more of like, do you guys see that stores are buying more tanks than anything else?
Yeah. In our numbers that we look at, there is a business side to it. The statistics that we have to review, and the Exo Terra terrariums are at the top. Light bulbs definitely are up in the top with the numbers too. And there are a few other different items, but those are some of the ones that really stand out. I mean, when you're at a reptile expo, the sheer number of Exo Terra terrariums that go out the door at an expo is impressive. So
do companies order specifically for expos?
There are some stores that do vend at the expos, and they do place orders for the show. That is starting to happen a little bit more. So that's something we definitely do see.
Very, very cool. And then from more of this perspective of like being in a store, are people usually coming in and do they know like, okay, I'm coming in for the 1818 Exo Terra, or is it generally like they're coming in and they're like, I have this species in mind, what size tank do you recommend? That kind of thing.
Would say it's a fairly even split with a third option of I came in looking for this size, but then after conversation they realized, oh, that's way too small.
Okay,
let's get something bigger.
Yeah,
that's often the case, and that's a good way to help them take better care of their pet.
Okay, and then another thing you mentioned earlier while we were just having a conversation that was unrecorded, unfortunately. You mentioned the Sonoran Desert.
Not just the Sonoran, the Bavarian Black. It's Bavarian Black, right?
Bavarian Black, yeah.
Sonoran Ochre.
Yep. Ochre, that's
Bahariya Black.
Cool.
And Outback Red.
Okay.
Is the Stone Desert Landscaping Substrate.
So red, black,
stony.
Yeah. We definitely sell more of the red and the black. Sorry, the red and the yellow than the black.
Okay.
Which I don't understand. I think the black is really nice, like dark brown when it's made up. But the mixture of different sediments in it, like all the other substrates like it on the market, I find just don't mix as evenly. And yours, with like the most finite amount of water, right away, it is exactly even mixture. Like a lot of the other ones that I've worked with, you've got to like just keep mixing and mixing and mixing, and then next thing you know, you put in too much water, but you couldn't tell because it didn't mix evenly.
Yeah.
Whereas yours, you put in a little bit of water, it mixes right away super evenly, and then it's just an amazing substrate to work with.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna put you on the spot. What's your favorite color?
The Sonoran Ochre.
Sonoran
It,
ochre,
it
okay.
just has a really nice natural look to it. I like being able to sculpt with it, but then also having a bit of it dry and loose on the bottom of the terrarium. It looks like you're in the desert looking at the
100%.
ground.
I think when
You know,
it's
it has a
loose,
very natural look to it.
yeah, when it's loose, it's different size particles as well, right? It's not
Yes.
all like all fine powder.
random.
So yeah, it's random.
And
So it kind of
nature's
looks
random.
random. Exactly, 100%.
So I'll
Yeah.
do you one better than one particular color. A customer of mine, local tattoo artist, they do amazing work. They were setting up for Euromastics, and they couldn't pick between two colors, so they decided to do both and did lines of strata
That's awesome.
through a tank. It was painstaking and took them forever, but they did like I think it was the Sonoran Ochre and then the black, and they just did layers
Wow.
sideways through the tank. It's stunning.
Do you know how
Really?
they got the layers? They
They
waited for it to
pack a
dry
layer.
and then
No, they had like two buckets. They pack a layer, and they pack the next layer, and they pack the next layer through. They didn't necessarily need to wait for it to dry. It just, I mean, it holds its shape once
Are
it's
there
put in.
photos of
Yeah.
this?
Maybe? I can't remember. If I can
I'd
find them, I'll send them to
I'd
you.
like to see
please do.
photos
Yeah,
of that. Yeah.
Me as well. That's very interesting because I was thinking there must be other ways of using them as well, right?
Yeah.
I heard people saying not even just layers. You can just mix the two colors together and kind of get like
I've never considered that.
You know.
Wow.
yeah, like
You get a different color.
Yeah, there you go,
Yeah,
yeah.
of
That's
course.
crazy.
different color or different like make that a lot redder and then kind of it what's the word
Yes.
ombre I don't know what the word, but like kind of fades out into
Ombre,
color.
yeah.
Ombre, that's
the one.
that's the one. So there is a lot of uses for
Oh,
the
yeah.
substrate. Are there any others that either of you can think of?
I know some people use it loose. I don't have any first-hand experience with that, but I know it's something that's designed to be used for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've seen one of Dion's videos,
Yes.
Reptiliatus.
With-
He says hi, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I spoke to him
yeah,
earlier
sweet.
today.
Okay.
But he did a cool video with some invertebrates, just having it loose inside the small enclosures, and it just had a really great
Oh, actually,
natural look to it.
I have used the stone desert clay and mixed in some extra minerals, and then
Interesting.
pasted that into a sort of like a dry substrate springtail culture,
Okay, so you
which
used it
has
in-
been
in a
working
manner
quite successfully. Yeah.
to call it bioactive. I mean, all clays contain calcium. They
Yeah.
contain minerals. I mean, this is something that's known. So that's one of the reasons why we have that bioactive symbol on the bag, because it can be used in that kind of way for the environment. If you have drier species of inverts that you're going to be adding your cleanup crew, as we call it. So it definitely has many uses in that way.
How often were you spraying it to be able to culture springtails on it? Because it dries up fairly well.
And like it was a sealed container, so there was
Okay.
like it's 100% humidity in there.
okay.
I just do like a light spritz here and there,
Okay.
and I never added food after the fact. They
That's
survived on the minerals
very,
and
very
they
interesting.
thrived.
I know as well. You mentioned like using it poured and like half solid and half compact. I know a few people that breed breed bearded dragons.
Okay.
That will do the entire setup, like actually mixed with water and like clay, then like
You know, like a solid bedrock.
solid
within,
bedrock, and then like
digging area?
like a digging area with the loose with it as a loose substrate, but mixed with just regular cocoa husk.
Okay.
So they'll mix it all together, and it becomes more of a softer but still sandier kind of
right.
area.
Yeah.
So really, it's awesome. There's so many different uses for these substrates.
I'm sure there's a way you could possibly put a deep enough layer in a way so that different animals may be even capable of burrowing into
Burrowing
it. I'd
into it,
love
yeah.
to see that. I've
100%.
seen setups where people have kind of done that, made the burrow for the animal, and maybe placed a piece of decor or a rock or
Wing
wood
tunnel.
where they made a recess underneath themselves, and it had that very natural look, like the animal burrowed under there. But it would be really cool to see if, like, example, like a Euromastix will do it.
Yeah, I can tell you with a leopard gecko build we had way back. I think it was when you guys first launched the Stone Desert. I did a dugout with a piece of slate on top of it, but then filled it in with some loose substrates. We're trying out some arid mix from a company we aren't working with anymore. And leopard gecko went in, dug it out, and it was very interesting to watch him do it. But once it was done, that was that. It was dug out.
Great.
Speaking of the leopard geckos, kudos on the one that you have up at the front right now.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
That is Sonoran Ochre, correct? Or
That's the Outback Red.
That's the Outback Red. Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Maybe I'm just a little clever.
Yeah, really, really nice.
It's a very nice scape. But on the topic of burrowing, I actually haven't tried it with the Stenodactylus yet. That's actually why I got this bag to try it out with them.
Oh, cool.
But they burrow like completely. Like I'll like, you know, one day I have like 5 of them, the next day there's like 3, and I'm like, we have to go searching for them, and they'll be under a decoration that doesn't have space to be under. Like they'll dig a hole under it and they'll create a little. So I'm excited to see how that one, if it'll hold structure a little bit better than the sand, because that just ends up like falling over them. You know,
if it has some moisture in it, it should. I don't know, loose dry if it will. But definitely if there's some moisture in it, it'll hold.
I found if you compact it enough, when they dig in, it kind of holds its shape, but still you want to have like a little bit of moisture.
Yeah. Well, I'm very clumsy with filling the water bowls, so it's like
there you go.
There's always a little bit of moisture in that area.
There you go.
So, and then maybe bouncing from that onto hanging on to something you said a couple of minutes ago, which was you cultured the springtails on that. I have experience, and I believe you do as well, culturing it on the stratum.
Yes.
Do you have any? I don't know if you've ever tried it or seen
I
it.
don't see why it wouldn't work. I've just
comparison?
never tried it. I've only ever done the charcoal and then the like dry mixture.
Okay, no, it works. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I guess you never tried it, so you wouldn't have sort of like a comparison of which works better, because that would be very interesting. But
I mean, I know you've done the charcoal and the stratum.
The stratum, yeah, I actually felt like the beauty of the stratum is it's easier to harvest the springtails, first of all. Okay. And I'm also less worried about, not that charcoal is bad in this setup, but it's like if I drop some stratum in there, I'm like, you know, it's just adding to the substrate. There's already stratum in the substrate, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
So I prefer it over the charcoal.
And to mention the substratum has carbon in it.
In it already, yeah.
Already,
exactly, yeah. So it's just more nutritious, I guess. Nutritious, is that? Yeah. More nutritious for the springtails, which in turn for the frogs, than using charcoal. So I do prefer it over that, which is, again, going back to why I was asking, because you were saying there's a lot of minerals and things in the Sonoran, or in all the landscaping clays. So it would be interesting to try. It would definitely be interesting to try.
I mean, the stratum's amazing stuff. I use it all over the store.
I was gonna, so I know you. Yeah, I was following up with that. I know you use it for like virtually everything. I do as well. I think you do as well. But maybe let's say, what are some of the uses you use for stratum?
So my favorite use for the stratum, it was like the fluval stratum before it was the substratum. But the substratum I much prefer. I use it in the house soil blend we make at the store.
Yes.
I'm especially fond of the substratum that you guys have made because of the bacteria that is
bacillus,
in it. The bacillus. I use the stratum, just volcanic clay, as like kind of a long-standing fertilizer in the soil, so there's stuff for the plants to eat right away. But then as the soil itself starts to break down from the bacillus and any other cleanup you have in there, it's like the plants have something to start with, and then as the whole thing settles and cycles, the soil itself becomes food for the plant. But I've also found that in the soil mixture bag, since I started using the substratum with the bacillus in it, the soil actually kind of seems to cycle inside the bag faster than when it was just the regular stratum. Wow. And you get a much more mature, healthy soil ready to go in your tank right away.
Almost like it's composted.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. That's really great feedback, for sure. Interesting stuff to hear, because I mean, if you can use it, the substratum to for your bioactive mix, or as I've done many times and still do, on its own.
On its own, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I saw the setup you had at the CRBE was just
Yes,
substratum, right?
in the Frogs and Co. Tree Frog Terrarium, where it has the drain built in.
Yeah.
That terrarium has been set up now for, well, this February would be 2 years.
Awesome. Okay.
And it's still draining very well too. The plants still seem to be doing great. I've grown a carpet of moss across the top of it. Mind you, it's not true terrestrial moss. It is Christmas moss growing on the surface. But we'll get into more of the different types of terrestrial species of mosses to see if they actually will dwell very well on it.
Liverworts will.
Yeah.
So hearing you say that it's been going for 2 years, just the substratum, is really interesting to hear, because a concern on my part would be that the substratum would compact over time and have an issue with root growth. But if it's been going that long, that's fascinating to hear.
Yeah, that's something I know that you've said in the past, and yeah, it raised some concern for myself. So there are some terrariums where I have put some of our biodrain around the actual drain with drainage mesh over it.
Yeah,
to
just to
protect, added insurance to protect the drain in case it does one day break down. But at the same time, for myself, if something like that happens, it just means I get to have some fun redoing the entire.
Exactly.
100%. 100%.
You know? So it's not an end all.
I actually used to hear the same thing about the fluval stratum.
Yep.
I mean, when first started setting up aquariums, they would say that every 2 to 3 years you would have to change it. I actually have one of the Epistogramma aquariums inside with stratum from 5 years ago.
Wow.
And it's now starting to look like I might need to. So it does last a long time. But so you use it alone with a tank with a drain. Would it work on top of a drainage layer, like in a normal, like, a drainage layer, screen, and then stratum?
You definitely can. I mean, what I've kind of done with some of the Frogs and Co terrariums was, like I was saying, just having a small amount of the biodrain volcanic rock drainage layer, but like just a small pocket of it, just so that it has some protection for the drain, so in case it breaks down, it doesn't clog it. But you could definitely put a full layer of drainage with the mesh, especially with those tanks, because you have the drain. In case you get any water accumulation, you can drain it right out right away. In case you are worried about that water coming up into the substrate layer where the plant's roots are.
You don't want to get too wet all the time, Interesting. Okay. I know you have a few more uses for the substratum, and then maybe as well there's any other uses that you want to.
That's definitely my main use for it. As in any soil mix I do, no matter how complicated or simple, I am always using some form of stratum in there, be it old stuff I have stolen from the fish department or a fresh bag off the shelf. It's my go-to as a long-time fertilizer. The only thing that I have that maybe competes with it at this point is tossing in some worm castings right off the hop.
Okay.
But I mean,
interesting.
It doesn't come. Oh, there she goes.
Yeah, in the water. Yeah. She likes to, the
swan dive.
Long distance swan dive, whatever, long distance divers, no, that's awesome. And then as well, we spoke about this last time Jesse was on. If you haven't seen that episode, go see that episode. But just to full circle the stratum, you've also used it in growing tomatoes.
Yeah. I ground it up, and when planting my tomato plants in my garden this year, I threw in handfuls of ground up stratum. I guess I could have put it whole, but I figured maybe it might get absorbed quicker, and I grew. They were indeterminate tomato plants, so that means they just keep growing. They never stopped. So I had plants that definitely, if I measured height, they probably got well over 12 feet in height. The tomato production, well, the squirrels took probably half.
I'll tell you why.
Tomatoes.
I'll tell you why. It became 12 foot, and the tomatoes were so tasty that the squirrels had to take them because you use the substratum in there. It's just
It definitely could be, for sure. yeah, no, I've used it for the terrariums. I've used it in bioactive mixes, and then on its own, and even some of my rare house plants I'm starting to keep used it as a planting media for some nice philodendrons in my home. So
replacement for Luca.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Cool. And like we said before, springtail culturing is awesome on it, but we already
I think it'll explore that a bit more for the store because our master culture is looking a little sad.
Yeah, you definitely should. It works wonders. Wonders.
Yeah, it works really well.
You know what I think it is?
On it.
Yeah, I think it's if you do forget to feed them every now and then, at least there's somewhat more of a source of something for them to kind of
But also
munch on.
make like seeding our dart frog tanks for like the younger frogs
A lot easier. Yeah, of course, definitely.
Dodging that charcoal is annoying.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's already in the substrate. You might as well just throw it in. But awesome.
Throw it in. I also just take the container and blow them into the terrarium.
Yeah. I've not had luck with that so far, but
Well, they kind of go a little bit of everywhere, so you'd probably lose some in the room, and then
yeah, that's exactly
they don't always end up in the terrarium, but it works. And then you wait a moment, and then they come all back up to the surface of the stratum, and then blow again, and they all fly in there.
I got a culture at the CRBE it could be black earth or maybe crushed up stratum that's like flat.
Mm-hmm.
And when I like tap it, all the springtails go to one side, and that one I can blow and get like springtails out of it. But when I do it on the stratum or the charcoal, I feel like you said they just all go down. But maybe
they go down, but feed them.
Feed them, they come back up.
Then they come up.
Okay, so the way this is gonna work is we're gonna throw out a bunch of Exo Terra products. I'm gonna say this product or that product, and we're gonna get James' opinion on it, and then we're gonna get Jesse's opinion on it, and then we're kind of gonna talk about the different uses for each of these products and with what species they work best. And to start it all off, product that I just picked up that I'm very excited to test out myself. But before I test it out, let's get the opinions on it. So we have here the Tropical Plant Growth LED. So there's the forest canopy and there's the deep forest, correct? Which do you prefer? Jesse, why don't you take this one first? Which do you prefer and why?
Well, I lately, just with my own terrarium setups and builds at home, I've actually started using the deep forest more. Now, the reason for that is that I'm starting to step away from the plants that require brighter light, like bromeliads, and getting closer to using or planting a lot of mosses and liverworts and aroids and some of the dwarf species of philodendrons that don't necessarily require a bright daylight spectrum type light. So the deep forest has been one that I've started using recently and seeing where it goes. So far I have very good results. I've grown some philodendrons under it and they've had excellent growth, and just waiting for the mosses and liverworts to slowly fill in.
I can back that up because you guys just saw in the Oyapak frog tank the mosses on the different levels and how the moss on the top was actually closer to the light, was actually more yellow than the bottom. So it definitely makes sense. James, do you have an opinion?
So my perspective using, like, I first of all really like that like the little canopy light fixture this fits into, how you can actually aim this.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome. If I were selling this in the store, I'd be inclined more to point a customer towards using the 6500 Kelvin light right off the hop. Because a lot of the time, I have no idea what plant they have in their tank, and a lot of the time they don't know either.
Yeah, that's
so true. This like 6500 Kelvin's fairly standard for a plant light, and being able to just plug and play with that. And then if they come back and say, "Hey, this is happening with the plants," we can drop it down if needed down the road.
Awesome. So the forest canopy is the 6500 Kelvin. What's the? Do you remember off the top of your head?
4500 Kelvin is the deep forest.
Okay,
it's got a much nice warmer light. I actually find it more pleasing to my own eye because the colors are richer in the environment. And the 6500 Kelvin.
This one is the one that's blinding.
Yeah, it's very very bright.
Okay,
very
awesome,
bright.
awesome. Well, I'm going to be using it on a 36 tall enclosure, and so I need it to reach the bottom, so I need it to be very bright.
So to me, in that case, it's like plan where you're going to plant the specific plants that like the brighter light, and then the ones that like the lower light, lower them down.
Yeah, it would naturally create shade by the plants above.
I was actually going to touch on off topic here, but I'm actually going to ask you guys what you think of this. What do you think of light reflecting inside the vivarium? Do you think that if I had something like under a cork bark somewhere, that it's still somehow getting light by like light reflecting off other things? Or do you think that if it's not being exposed to the light on top of the vivarium, it's pretty much
it's going to get some light, and it will definitely grow a little bit, but it's really going to depend on the plant. I've had something down low like that where it like subsisted and it survived, but it never thrived. It just stayed exactly how I planted it, but didn't die.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a peperomia up there that's pretty much been the same like for 2 years now. It's not doing well. We're gonna dive into a different product now. A product that's actually conveniently sitting on the shelf right behind me. This is the Monsoon, which is the misting system. The reason it's sitting behind me is because I'm going to be using it on 361836 giant paludarium very, very soon. So make sure you subscribe to my other channel, Daffy's Reptiles, to see that build. It's going to be like a 5-6 video series build. It's going to be a lot of fun. So go subscribe there. It's a quick plug. But we're going to talk about the Monsoon a little bit. So James, you've used the Monsoon before?
Yep.
You haven't.
Still using it.
You're still using it. Awesome. Yep. So James, you have one of these currently. What's your opinion on it? And I know you've used a different one in the past. What's the differences? What's your opinion on the Monsoon in general?
So I used the multi, the previous generation, when I got my first misting system.
Awesome.
And my biggest takeaway is that the pump was lackluster.
How long ago was this?
5 or 6 years ago.
5 or 6 years ago. Okay.
Yeah,
Something
in the ballpark.
Makes sense.
Tried using it for a while. It was better than hand misting when I could,
of course,
get it to work. But I had a lot of issues with getting actually enough pressure, just like getting the head from the pump up to the tank, and then getting more than like a little spritz out of the nozzles. Okay. But since I moved to the Multi 2, it has been phenomenal. I don't use the Exo Terra branded nozzles. I use ones from a different company because I like the fog that it produces more than the more directed spritz. But it's worked great for me. I use it on an individual tank or a pair of tanks, and it's worked great. I've had no complaints with it, and when I get customers in that are looking to just have something for 1 or 2 tanks, this is what I send them off with.
Awesome. The multi's supposed to run 4 tanks?
It comes with 2 nozzles, and you can expand up to 6.
Okay, cool.
Don't go beyond 6.
Okay.
You will lose the pressure that you're looking to have with it. But yeah, from the multi to the Multi 2, they're updated with stronger pumps. So it's mentioned on the package how much pressure it has. Also, the tubing material has changed. The old tubing was polyethylene. And the new tubing is a polyether. So why the change is because the old tubing actually would age after a period of time. And what would happen is majority of the time, I'm talking like high 90 percentile, a leak could form and it would be inside the terrarium. Because with the Exo Terra terrariums, the Monsoon tubing and the nozzles go through the inlet ports in the back and along the glass and so on. So I find with heat, humidity, and probably lighting, and not just UVB, even very powerful LED lighting probably degraded the polyethylene, and that's where it would spring leaks. The new polyether on that terrarium I spoke of earlier, where I've had a Monsoon Multi 2 set up for, it's going on almost a year and a half, getting close to 2 years. No leaks in the tubing whatsoever at all. So that was a great improvement there. And I'm never going to say that there's always room for more improvement. Yeah. Actually, the Multi 2 is the 4th generation Monsoon model. The 2nd generation, the change at that time was adding some vents on the headpiece for the top of it. The very first one, moisture condensation could get trapped in there.
Okay.
So this completely remedied that issue. Those models also had the turning knobs on it. And we found that if there was any accidental spilling, sometimes of water, it could get into those control knobs and affect the computer board inside. So that's where we ended up, when we went to the multi-model, this one's predecessor, we went to the buttons with the waterproof front, so that it just eliminates that issue altogether.
Awesome. Do you remember when you made the switch, or when the changes happened from multi to multi 2?
From multi to multi 2 was 2 years ago. So it was in the close just before Christmas time of 2020. Yes,
Awesome.
is when the multi 2 and the solo 2 came out.
Cool. Yeah. Thank God. You've been happy with it so far?
It's been working wonders for the 2 little tanks I'm using it on.
Awesome. Go watch the video and you'll find out what my opinion on is in a couple of months. Before we wrap up the episode, we said we're going to play one more portion of our little Exo Terra game show, right? What we're going to do here is each one of you is going to come up with a little enclosure or terrarium based on some Exo Terra products, and then the other 2 of us are going to kind of guess what animal or species or group of species could potentially fit into this vivarium. Jesse's gonna start out. Hit us.
So, talk about all the products I would use.
Anything you would, at least 3 or 4, just to kind of give us a general idea of the direction you're going in, but like as many as you want to use.
Okay.
And for everyone listening or watching or whatever, we're probably gonna have like at least a 2-minute buffer before we actually reveal the species, which we don't actually know yet. Only you know what species you're thinking of at the moment.
Yeah.
But with that being said, play along, try to guess. You know, it's trying to see if we can make this a little more fun. So, hit us.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. I'm thinking of a dream species that I'd like to keep one day. I don't keep currently.
Okay.
Where I would definitely be setting up a large extra tall Exo Terra with Monsoon misting system. Definitely 2 of our large compact tops,
Okay.
back to back. Why? Because I know that having those on the cover of the Exo Terra would end up allowing you to raise the humidity high enough
Okay.
for keeping said species,
Okay.
or I would say group. I'm not gonna say species because I have like a whole group of them that I'm interested in, and whichever I end up with, I'll probably be very happy anyway.
Okay. Interesting.
And
So to say at this point, I have absolutely no idea what
I would do probably because of the versatility of the compact top, allowing me to combine plant growth effective LEDs, like the tropical plant growth LEDs. I would install I would put the forest canopy LEDs
Okay.
in this, just because of the height of the terrarium, and for the nature of the type of plants that I would be including there, and just because I know that there's possibly some benefits from it too. I definitely would probably end up adding at least one compact fluorescent UVB 100
Okay.
26 watt UVB bulb
Okay.
in there as well, just because it poses that to have some added benefits for that species. And you know, just having one somewhere in there where the animal can gain access to it and get some UVB rays, but there'll be so many plants in there that it would be able to retreat away from the UVB rays too. That's something that's always been very important to me, to allow for that animal in that enclosed environment. We have to always remember that in the wild they can move wherever they like. In the terrarium, we're secluding them to this one space, so they need to be able to move in their environment for the proper thermoregulation for their body temperature, but then at the same time UVB rays are important too. definitely substratum, because definitely going to be having some plants in there, and it probably will end up having some kind of bioactive mix with drainage mesh and our bio drain in the bottom. Trying to think what other products I would throw into this with it, but maybe I'll give you guys a clue, and
Yes.
I would definitely have some very large bromeliads.
Okay.
I leave it there.
I'm
I think
glad.
I'm gonna leave it.
I'm glad you gave us that last clue.
Yeah, definitely we'd include our combo meter for measuring the temperature and the humidity
Okay.
as well.
Awesome. James, do you have a guess in your head?
Is it a type of frog?
Wow. Me being a frog guy, I guess you know, you're on the right track.
Cool.
I made it.
Was
Follow
it the
the lizard.
was it the bromeliads? that threw it?
I
No,
possibly-
it's him as a person.
Okay.
I possibly made that a little easy.
So yeah, I was thinking like, you know, monsoon, stratum. So it's a high humidity tropical environment. The bromeliads definitely made me go in the frog direction too. Is it like large obligates? Like
Yeah.
yeah. okay. I had a feeling it would be something like that. Okay.
So for the people that don't know, it's
Yes.
like the large species of the Ufaga family of poison dart frogs.
Yes. Do you have a favorite species? Or yeah.
Like I was saying, I'd probably be happy if I ended up with any of them. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain. That's the thing. It's like if you ever have the opportunity
Especially
to be
here
able
in-
to keep and possibly even breed, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
a species like that, and definitely ones that are captive bred, would be amazing.
Can we sort of assume that that tank that you're kind of picturing and building in your head is actually something that's maybe happening? And
No.
you said you're picking up
It's-
a tank,
No, it's not happening.
not for
No.
large obligates,
Sorry.
but for something else.
It's just a like I'm currently going to work on a new setup.
And then you'll figure out what you're
And
doing.
it will be mainly just to accommodate other plants that I'm getting into,
Oh, okay, cool.
because I'm really enjoying that aspect of the hobby, and something bigger, nicer for some of the species that I already keep. I have some big Dendrobates tictorius cobalts
Yeah.
that I've loved and had for multiple years now, and it would be great to move them into something a bit larger. I mean, they're already in a large tall Exo Terra, 36 by 18 by 24, but this one has a false bottom with a waterfall, so because of that, there's a loss of space
Yes.
there. The waterfall build part of it was problematic. So moving on to a different project.
Yeah, they always seem to eventually become problematic. It's funny because I set that one up almost like it's been like 6-7 months now, and when I decided to make this one a waterfall, you warned me and you were like, it's never something's always gonna go wrong, and I was like, no, I'm fine. Like this one's been up for 6-7 months. 3 days ago.
I mean,
3 days ago the pump stopped
Funny,
working
it's like,
properly.
you know,
so
if you
it's-
set it up and it's great for at least a couple or a few years.
Yeah.
As I was saying before, if something goes wrong, then you can move on to the next project and have fun with that.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
like I say, it's never an end all.
Yeah, it's a restart.
Yeah.
Restart. I love that. James, hit us. It's your turn. What
Okay.
do you have it ready? Is it in your head?
So I'm gonna start
Let's hear
with a small low Exo Terra.
Hit us with the dimensions.
So that's a 1818 12-inch tall.
Okay.
Gonna use the 10 by 11 heat pad with a thermostat controller.
Okay.
Probably gonna put a smaller dome on top of it with a UVB 100.
26 watt or 13 watts?
13. That's
13
gentle.
watt. Okay. Nice.
One of your canopies at the front with the forest canopy UVB strip at the front. Stone desert clay on the inside. Probably some drier plants if I do any at all. Doing like a nice bedrock with the stone desert, and then kind of like a loose substrate towards the front. like the stone desert azimuth substrate towards the front. A bunch of burrow systems using like cork rounds, and probably some bits of slate for like shelves up towards the back.
Okay. Okay.
Would you like a hint?
Well, before you give us the hint, do you have any idea?
I'd like to try. I mean,
Sure.
It could be.
I have a question that may potentially lead into a hint. Are you okay with me asking this now, or do you want a minute first?
I'm trying to think. There was some geckos I saw recently on someone's Instagram page. The guy had a handful of them.
Handful of them. Are you
Yeah.
maybe referring to me?
No,
I
no, it wasn't you.
know.
It wasn't you.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think of
So we're kind of going in the same thought here. So I'm gonna ask the question: Is that an enclosure for one animal,
It's a group.
or it's a group? Okay, so
Or one.
okay.
Depends
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
what you want.
But they are communal. They do live together.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Or
okay.
can if you raise them together.
Okay. I have a guess.
go for it.
Yeah, should I go for
Yeah,
it?
you go for it.
Is it the viper geckos?
It is.
They're
They're
okay.
very cute.
I was
Okay,
going
there,
along those
yeah,
lines.
yeah.
I was close to saying it.
Well, I had a feeling because we actually have some at Critter Jungle right now.
They're very fun to skate for.
Oh, wow.
And you
Okay.
kind of
They're
sort of
cool
described
little-
the scape. That's sort of described the scape.
I do it bigger though.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, they are tiny babies at the moment, but that's awesome. I would like to try that scape on multiple. So I have these. What are these? 8s? No, 12s.
Yeah.
12 cubes that I'm slowly pulling all my animals out of, and I'm gonna empty them out, clean them up, and do it again. But I'm thinking of making my groups of Stenodactylus smaller groups, and I want to try different kind of scapes and see, like Dion again posted. He did that video using the Sonoran.
The Sonoranoker.
That's the one. And so I was speaking to him about it, and he said his Stenodactylus actually climb all the time, and they're using, they're going to the bathroom at the top of the
Really?
background and all that.
Wow.
So I'd like to try different heights and different ways, and I mean, like the shelf is going to be empty, so I'm thinking like putting the three of them next to each other and seeing what, kind of like a little, not a social experiment, but a social experiment to kind of see what they prefer. So that's exactly how I think I would do it as well.
Great.
It's very interesting. Awesome. Okay, well, in that case, I think we're going to wrap up the episode here. Mr. James, thank you very much for coming on. Mr. Jesse, thank you very, very much
Thanks,
for coming
man. Thanks for having us.
Yes. Hopefully we will be doing the Exo Terra game show round 2 at some point in the future. But for now, James, can you let everyone know where they can find you?
You can find me on Instagram at I am Nomad. Fadi will spell it out for you on screen.
Somewhere here. Yes. And or if you're in Ottawa, go see him at Critter Jungle. And
Great
Jesse.
store, really great store.
It's pretty okay, I guess.
Yeah. I have fun there sometimes. Awesome. And then yes, Jesse, where can they find you, and also where can they keep up with the newest Exo Terra?
And
news?
especially for Canada, we have Canadian viewers here. You can reach me through our Exo Terra Canada Facebook page.
Awesome.
So when you message there, it's actually myself that reads the messages and responds. If I'm on vacation, obviously not. But we do all the announcements on that page for any new product releases. There's been a big slowdown through the last year. This is from all the stress that's been on the big system of production from the pandemic. But I assure you'll be seeing some new products soon.
And your personal, or did you want to?
Oh, you guys have seen watch the
other-
other interview with myself and Fatty,
Yes.
where we talk about my personal channel with for wildlife photography.
Yes. I will link that episode somewhere in the show notes as well. But yeah, once again, thank you both for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks
And-
for having us, buddy.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
Thanks,
go. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes.
Thanks for hanging out, James.
Always good to see us.
Yeah, likewise.
Awesome. So yes, I am Daffy's Reptile on all social media platforms. Daffy's Roundtable for the podcast. Give these awesome people a follow. Check out Exo Terra's newest products, and we will see you on the next one.